Fluffywuffy. Mr. Moot, this is Mr. Moot, lived all alone with his beloved pet Fluffywuffy. This is Fluffywuffy. Mr. Moot was not troubled by mice, so no mice came to disturb Mr. Moot. He did not have noisy neighbors, so there were no noisy neighbors that disturbed Mr. Moot. And he hardly ever got any letters delivered, so no postman disturbed Mr. Moot too. I do like a nice quiet life, said Mr. Moot. Then one day, there was a knock at the door. I've come for a week, said Cousin Clarence, or months, or quite possibly a year. So this is Cousin Clarence, and he has came to stay at Mr. Moot's house. Okay. Oh dear, said Mr. Moot. I mean, come in and make yourself at home. Meet Fluffywuffy. Cousin Clarence made himself at home immediately. So he went to lie on the couch, okay? And he's very comfortable. I am very sleepy, he declared. And he put himself to bed on the living room sofa. I don't suppose you'll be much bother, said Mr. Moot. So Mr. Moot said, I don't think Cousin Clarence will disturb me. Fluffywuffy said nothing, okay? That night, Mr. Moot was woken up by a noise. Oh dear, what noise is that? A noise of enormous proportion. That means a noise that's really big, enormous, and really loud. Whatever could it be? What is it? Mr. Moot switched on the living room light. Sometimes, said Cousin Clarence, I just like a little night music. So Cousin Clarence said, I like to play the drums. I like some music sometimes. Well, as long as it's only sometimes, said Mr. Moot, I expect it won't be a bother. So Mr. Moot said, alright, since it's only sometimes, then I don't think it'll disturb me all the time. Fluffywuffy said nothing. The next night, Mr. Moot was woken again by another quite different but equally enormous noise, a very big and loud noise. What could be happening now? Mr. Moot switched on the living room light. Sometimes, said Cousin Clarence, I just get the urge to make something. So sometimes he likes to make things. Well, as long as it's only sometimes, I suppose it's okay, said Mr. Moot. And as long as you're trying not to be a bother, you're trying not to disturb me, I most certainly am trying, said Cousin Clarence happily. Oh dear, Fluffywuffy said nothing. But the next night, well, Mr. Moot was woken by another enormous noise. So now they're wearing earplugs, but they're still woken up by very loud and noisy and big noise, okay? A noise that was almost impossible to describe. Mr. Moot switched on the living room light. Friday nights only, said Cousin Clarence before Mr. Moot could say a word. I find it very relaxing after a hard week. So Cousin Clarence now riding motorbike in the house. And he said he only does it on Friday nights. Well, that's alright then, I suppose, said Mr. Wood, who was having a bit of hard week himself. After all, next Friday is 7 days away. Fluffywuffy said nothing. Not very surprisingly, the next night, Mr. Moot could not get to sleep. He lay awake, waiting for a noise to begin. And after a while, there was a noise entirely impossible to describe. So a noise that's very, very strange. You don't know what is it. It was not the sound of motorbikes or drums or circular saws. It was a noise that got louder and louder until suddenly scrunch. Perhaps the oddest noise of all. That means a very, very strange noise. And then there was complete and utter silence. So now it became very, very quiet, very silent, okay? Mr. Mood listened. The silence persisted, so it was quiet, very quiet. He listened some more. The silence went on. Perhaps, he said to himself in worried tones, I had better go and see. So Mr. Mood went down the stairs to check what was happening because it was very quiet. Mr. Mood switched on the living room light and Cousin Clarence was not there. Oh dear. Gone, said Mr. Mood. Disappeared without so much as a goodbye or a thank you. So Cousin Clarence is not here anymore. He didn't say goodbye or thank you. He's gone. Fluffywuffy said nothing. Mind you, said Mr. Mood. Isn't it lovely and quiet now? Fluffywuffy said nothing. Oh. Night-night, Fluffywuffy, said Mr. Mood, switching off the light. Sleep tight. And then Fluffywuffy smiled. But Fluffywuffy said nothing. So, where do you think Cousin Clarence went to? I think Fluffywuffy ate Cousin Clarence up. Oh dear.